Hi, Internet viewers. My name is Frank Rauscher. I'm going to go further on the otter here. I went ahead and I textured the otter with a diamond wheel like this here. And the biggest thing I want to mention again, if you had any difficulty doing this, is to always keep the wheel perpendicular to the surface when you're doing it. And no matter if you're rolling the otter, you always want to come at it perpendicular to the surface. That is a key item to do, and you have to do that almost right on through, or you get wide cuts in the otter, and you really don't want to do that. The other item that I was suggesting too is I got a cone shape, which is slightly tapered inward. And this is great for getting into these tight areas where the feet and the legs come together. And you can't do it with the bigger wheel. It's just going to be a nuisance. So I'm asking you to go into one of these bits, which is much smaller in diameter, and this will allow you to get into there and texture it very nicely. And for those who wanted to choose differently, like if you were going to carve this out with a knife and so on, if you didn't have the rotary tools, but you do have a burning pen, you could have textured this also by burning. So I'm going to try to, I will show you other ways, which I did in the last video on burning this, and you just get the tip hot enough that you can start stroking through here. And as I showed you on that, I put some line work, which is very helpful to follow the lines, because when you're starting to burn or you're texturing, you can get lost a little bit in what direction that the fur is laying, and this will with the pencil lines already on there, it really adds to giving you a look of how the fur lays perfectly then, and it just would make it easier for you when you're just stroking away, that you don't have to think too much about, oh yeah, well, what's it look like and this and that. This will have it marked in pencil, and you could do it lightly. You can do it heavy too, and that really works out pretty good. I'm going to proceed on. I'm going to give you some visual shots coming down from the top. I'm going to show you how to set the eyes today. I'm going to also show you how to put the nostrils in on it, and then also what I use to set the eyes and the material for sealing the wood before we start painting. So I'm going to switch the camera to a downward shot so you could see it, and I will continue on in a minute here. Okay, we're back now, and what I want to mark out for you is the nostrils. I want to take about the middle of the nose when you're looking straight in on it from the top down to the bottom. Pick about right about the middle, and I'm going to put a dot right there, and I'm going to do one on the other side, and that is going to be, I'm going to measure it just to give you some measurements here in millimeters, because it's really small. It's about 2 millimeters out on each side of the center line. So, and then what I'm going to do is from that dot, I'm going to draw like a comma or a backward comma here. I'm going to go like this, and I'm going to come in here and do a backward comma in there as well. So you have that marked out. So now what I want to do is to get my rotary machine here. And what I'm going to use to do this is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to drive the nostril in, and then I'm going to cup it this way around, and it'll transition off on both sides here. It goes in, and then I come this way. So let me get that in here. Change the bit out so you can see that. And this is a 1 millimeter ball that I'm trying to do this nostril. So what I do is I come right on in on that dot, push it in, and then curl it out. And I do the same thing on the other side. I push it in to about the depth of the ball, and then curl it around. And that gives you the nostrils for the otters. And if you can't see it well, I'm going to come in here with a pencil and just show you what I've done here too. I don't know how well it's coming up on with the camera, but that's what I've done in there. So it actually puts the hole in there with the nostril, and then like a little curvature, and then the same way on this side here, and it comes up along the side of the nose. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to set the eyes, and the eyes are right now by the measurements we had on here, the eyes were in the corner. They were 3/16 out from the center line on both sides. We already drew the eye opening in there before, but now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a 3 millimeter diameter ball, which is this here, and just to make sure we measure it, and that's it. And I'm going to put that in, and I'm going to open those eyes, because when I get this bit and try to go in, it's not, the eye ain't big enough. So I have glass eyes that I'm going to use, which are these here, which are 3 millimeter brown eyes, is what the otter has. And I'm going to insert them in there, and I'm going to show you how to do it. There's a few different ways of doing it. So I'm going to change this out so I can get the right size. And I'll turn on my machine. And I'm going to go straight in on the eye. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Straight in on the eye. Now I know I have a 3 millimeter eye. And what I'm using in case of this is I'm using glass eyes that are on wire here, but I've cut the wire, so I don't really want to deal with the wire, so I cut it off so it's short, so I can fit it into the hole, and it's going to fill that. And if I get the wire first and check to see if it goes sliding right in there, then we're in good shape. So before you cut the eyes off, and I usually cut it off as close as I can to the glass. This is glass eyes here, and they have a black pupil, and they're what they call a brown eye. So what I'm going to try to do here is I'm going to show you how to set the eyes, and there's a couple of different materials. One is, it's called quick wood, and this works this way. You take the material out. It's a 2-part epoxy. And what you do is you could cut just a little bit off because you don't need that much and slice it through. And it has the 2-part epoxy already on there. And then just knead it together and you are ready to go with it as far as using that as a filler on the back of the eye, which I'm going to show you here. And the other material I use is, it's called a 2-part epoxy, which is AB epoxy. And these, I don't have a full container, but it's called A, and then this is B. And what you do is you get 2 pieces together like this, an A and a B, and you knead them together. So either one, you knead the material together so that you end up with these being mixed. And this is like a chemical reaction that gets these to harden. And the material, this is great for setting them. And what I do is I just knead the material till it all blends together, the 2 parts. It softens it up a little bit. And in some cases, if you want, like when I'm doing birds, you can add a little water to smooth it out. So in the case of here, I'm going to get about that much, and I'm going to stick that into the hole, like so. And then I'm going to get the eyes, and I'm going to plop them right about where the hole is. Sure I am. There we go. And I push that back. Then I get a pencil and get the eraser end of it and push that in. And then what I'm going to do is get the pencil point to take the excess away from the eye. And the thing with the otters is their eyes are set forward like ours, where birds are set to the side of the head. These are looking almost directly forward. So I'm coming in here and I'm just cleaning up on the putty around there. And one way you can soften this up is by getting a wet brush, not a good one, something cheap that you don't worry about. And you can just apply that right in there. I'm going to get a pointier point in here. And there is the eye set on the one side. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to get some of the putty. I'm going to plop it in the hole. Push it in there. I'm going to get my glass eye again. I get the wired end pushed in there. And then I get my thumb, push it down. Then I'm going to get the pencil, especially with the eraser end, push that in there to get that in. And where I want the eye to stop, we have a measurement back here. I made this sloping, so the back end of the eye should end up right about here. And we're going to do the same thing here. So I'm going to take the excess out of there. That's all the way around here because you don't need all that. And I'm going to smooth that out. Nope. we don't need this here. So you just need enough to go around the eye so it looks like it's set in there real nicely. There you go. All the way around. And then I'll sweep this back here just to let that finish up. And then I'm going to open that up just a little bit more as far as, so I could see a little more of the glass. Okay, and that is the eyes being set in there. You can see the nostrils up here. You can see the eye is all in there and set, and that's it. You can do it with the quick wood, and the problem with the quick wood is that you only have 15 minutes to work with it. So if it's not a problem child where you need a real fancy eyelid or something like that, which you would have on birds, I prefer the AB epoxy, but this will do it just as well, and it gives you a real nice look. Now I've got some pencil marks in here, which are going to get out of there eventually, but it looks like it's got some shadowing around it, and that's not really what we want, but that'll get taken care of on the next stages we do here. So the other thing I wanted to tell you too, also, when we were texturing the otter itself, the thing that we want to do is, after we're all done, they have what you can get, like a rotary brush like this. This is horsehair, and you can do it with an old toothbrush too, but the rotary one's nice. You want to run them at half speed on your machine. Most machines are rated for 30,000 to 45,000, and you want to run it at half of that speed, because these are not designed to go that fast. So you run them at half speed and you brush the whole thing out. This is even before you set the eyes, and get all the dust out and everything else. And then you could look and see if you got every square inch textured with lines in there, and you don't have like a bald spot in there. And this is great for cleaning it up to get it all through, okay, and get all the dust out. And you can see if you missed any spots or if you got any dings, and you can see that this is pretty much textured all the way through. And the biggest trick when you're doing this is to keep, like I said, the wheel perpendicular. And then you also have to practice a little bit, because you want the depth of cut as you're stroking through here the same. And you try to, as best you can. You always want to get some that are a little deeper than others, but in general, it takes a little practice, but you can do something very similar to what I just did. And what else I'm going to do too is we're going to also, after we get this all dusted out with the rotary brush, or even with an old toothbrush, you can come in with an old toothbrush and just go through it like that as well, if you don't have a rotary brush. And that works out very well also. I then want to also make you aware that before I start any painting, I do two steps. One of them is the bird. Yeah, I'm so used to doing birds, I'm saying birds. It's the otter wants to be all white. Even though we're going to turn it brown, I get a nice consistent base color of white, and that's what this would look like. This here, I painted this whites before. This was another one I had done, and that's what we're going to try to turn it into. But even before we start painting it white, I'm going to introduce you to, it's called Krylon Spray. It's Krylon puts it out. It's a clear spray. It's called 51301 is the number on this. Again, it's 51301 is what you want to use. And I hold it about 6 inches away from the otter, and I spray it, and it looks wet, and I get the whole thing saturated with that. And like I said, I'm 6 inches away when I'm spraying it. And then I let it dry, and I'll let it go for maybe a half hour to an hour just to make sure. And what it does, it soaks in, and it closes all the pores of the wood, so that when we go to paint, I'm going to use acrylic paints that is water-based, and instead of the water penetrating into the wood and swelling up and losing some of the detail, it seals it. So we're doing 2 seals on it. One's going to be the Krylon Spray again, this here, and then the second one I'm going to do is paint it white. And a lot of people use gesso. I'm not crazy about it at all. It's a very thick type substance, and I prefer watering it down. And even when I water it down, it's still like a heavy consistency. So what I've done to create this one is I use titanium white acrylic paint, and I mix about maybe a pea size in one of these cups. Let me show you. Like one of these cups like this, and you can fill this up, put a pea size of paint in there, and I'm going to show you this once we get going on the painting side of it. And then I fill it up 3/4 of the way, and then I really mix the paint really well. I mean, really get it so it's very liquidy, almost like a milky, a milk type consistency. And then after this is dry, after I've sprayed it and dried it, then I come in and I paint it white with the titanium white. And I find that works out very nice. And the reason why I've done that over the years is in some cases, especially in birds, after I paint it with the titanium white, if I needed to come back and burn over this, just to touch it up a little bit, especially with birds, where I'll put some shadowing in on the bird itself, I could go back in and burn it, and it doesn't peel up and show you the white. And that's one reason why I've gone to the titanium white. I just like the titanium white, and I paint that, and I give it a few coats until I get a white consistency, and that's what I'm going to do on this. So this is to the point where we're going to clean it up with the horsehair brush, okay, and then we spray it with the Krylon Spray 51301, and then we let that dry, and then we paint it white. And then what I'm going to do after that is we're going to actually paint this, and I'm going to give you step by step on the painting of it. And we've finished this nostrils here, and we set the eyes, and we're all ready to go. So we will, on the next video, I will show you how to paint it, and then after that we'll get into mounting it, and also if you want, I'll show you the other patterns for the baby, which is smaller, And if you want to add that onto it, I'll go back and show you the original setting I have for the baby and everything else, and you can add that to the side of here, and I pin that together. But I'm going to show you how to put the whole thing together, where we actually create a rock out of wood, and then we add some little rocks around it that are real, and we'll build up the base. So I hope you like what you see. If you do, I would ask you to give me a thumbs up, and if you would, and you really like what I'm doing, if you would also subscribe, I'd appreciate that too. And hope to see you on the next video, and we'll be starting to paint it, because if we'll do all the steps of sealing it like I told you, and then we'll go from there. So hope to see you then. Thank you.